family of Mr. Muhakanizi, from his wife, his children, and all the relatives, the honorable ministers present, my colleagues, permanent secretaries, all senior government officials, and the fraternity of private sector that are here, all fellow mourners, I greet all of you, and on behalf of the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, would like to send our heartfelt condolences to all of you for this great loss of our senior, our mentor, and a man who has left a big mark, not only in Uganda, but internationally. Mr. Muhakanizi passed on when we were in Washington with my minister and several other senior officers of finance attending the World Bank IMF spring meetings. And it was a very big shock to receive this news by the team. We were in the middle of a meeting, and my phone started ringing incessantly from my officers, but I couldn't pick it because I was presenting something. Then my director of economic affairs just tapped me and said, "Keith has died." It's like that. It was a big shock, and the meeting continued in a very difficult environment. But moments later, after his passing, at the meeting of the African group, that's when we understood who Keith Muhakanizi had been. The director of IMF for Africa, Mr. Pepe announced his death to the group of ministers of finance from Africa, as well as permanent secretaries and governors of the central bank. And the entire room was in a big shock. A few of them had been asking me for now, a couple of times I've been there on his welfare, and I had assured them that he had actually recovered and is in office, and that's what actually all of us knew. He frequented my office. We had several discussions, and before he left, about a week, he had come to my office to discuss a few things concerning the well-being of our country. It's a great loss for Mr. Muhakanizi. He was also a very good human being. I didn't know him so much, but when I was appointed in this office, which he was occupying, he was among the first people to call me in the evening on a Saturday. He was appointed like on a Thursday. On a Saturday, he called me, and he spoke to me for about 30 minutes about the kind of job I was taking on. He congratulated me. He gave me very good advice on how I should actually start this task. I should say, without any contradiction, that those words Mr. Keith Muhakanizi told me have really helped me right away to settle in this job as if I had done it before, or I was prepared for it. I wasn't. So I really want to, there are so many things which we have said on where Mr. Muhakanizi has come from. I want to go into that, what he has done for the country. We all know we are not novices. I could scan and see all the faces here. We know each other very well. We know who Mr. Keith Muhakanizi was and what he has done for Uganda. But one major aspect I want to end with is the contribution he has made with his colleagues, because he told me he became a public servant in June 1982. That's when he left school and became a public servant. And since then, up to the time he has left this earth, he has been one of the most illustrious human beings you will find, giving service to his country every single day, every single moment. He, with his colleagues, Mr. Emmanuel Tumukunde, who is also long gone, he died last year in January, Mr. Chris Kasami, the two predecessors of mine, and then their team they worked with at the Ministry of Economic Planning and Development first, before it was merged with the Ministry of Finance in 92. They made tremendous contribution to what we have today as the new Uganda. They reformed the way we looked at economics and the way we looked at the economy. We used to have very huge belief in a control model, controlling things. They are the ones who brought this new model of leaving the private sector to answer most of the economic questions, not us, the government. And it is that model which has made this economy to expand quite fast. It has been one of the fastest growing economies, not only in Africa, but in the world in the last 30 years. That's why we have been able to reduce poverty. We have been able to see this transformation which is ongoing. Of course, there is a lot of unfinished business, but to anyone who was there or who has taken trouble to read about where Uganda was in the 70s, in the 80s, early 80s, and where it is today, we all know, or we should know, especially those well-meaning people of Uganda, the kind of contribution Mr. Keith Muhakanizi and his colleagues have made. So I thank him for giving us that foundation, because he asked me, how old were you in 82? I told him I was 4 years. And he said, oh, you should be my son. So they have built the foundation upon which our generation now is able to stand on and make whatever contribution we could make. With those words, I really want to thank the family of Mr. Muhakanizi for giving him to the Republic of Uganda and allowing him the space, that office where he was before he moved to the office of the Prime Minister, where now I am. Madame Rosette was asking, is it the character or what? That office cannot allow you to have any moment on yourself. You are needed 24/7. Every single moment. That office requires you at times. So I thank very much the family of Mr. Muhakanizi for giving him that time for a long time when he was Deputy Secretary of the Treasury and later Secretary of the Treasury, and served this country in that capacity. And may his soul rest in eternal peace.
Thank you very much, PSST, Mr. Ramathan Ggoobi. Before I invite the Secretary to Cabinet and the Head of Public Service, just one announcement. We have a treasury here, which is headed by Dean Munene and Brian Kavuya. Should you have anything you want to give to support the family, please feel free. These young men will receive it. I would now like to invite Mrs. Lucy Nachobe-Mbonye. After that, we shall invite Professor William Bazeyo, who is a close family friend and has been on this journey with the family. Professor, when ready.
Thank you.